Exodus 18, let's call this one Able Men Part 2, because earlier we talked about the whole concept of able men being what? Pharaoh, not the recent Pharaoh, but the old Pharaoh who exalted Joseph during the time of the famine. He was looking for able men out of Joseph's brothers to help tend his flocks. And in selecting those able men, Joseph was going to need to know which of his brothers had genuinely repented from the days in which they weren't so able, but they were more or less untrustworthy. And so now we're going to look at it from a different perspective, because Moses, recently delivered from Egypt, is going to meet his father-in-law Jethro in this particular chapter. And Jethro is going to prove to be a wise man who values able men. And it's going to be important because Moses is going to need help. First and foremost in life, if you have people who are genuinely happy for you, you are very blessed. And that is the first thing that Moses has in this father-in-law Jethro. Verse 9, and Jethro rejoiced for all the good that the Lord had done to Israel, and that he had delivered them out of the hand of the Egyptians. And so Jethro was so cool, I'm going to say, that he wasn't simply happy for Moses. He was happy for the Israelites as well. And we've already seen they can be kind of shady, but he's going to understand something about their situation, even though they could be personally kind of suspect. And we'll see that in verse 11, where it says, now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods, because in this affair, they dealt arrogantly with the people, meaning the Egyptians dealt arrogantly with the Israelis. And so he is able to parse out the general characteristics of Israel from the fact that they were simply being treated poorly. And that was not right. And so that goes back to what God is going to say for his people, Israel. It's really going to be a characteristic that he values in all people. And that's, are you doing the right things for the right reasons? Because there are times when we can have people who are rejoicing with us for the wrong reasons. But as we have seen, success is built on shadiness or lack of integrity does not tend to last. And Jethro is now showing us a more stable type of relationship, because as he is looking at Moses' situation, he is not simply looking at the fact that he's had success in the past. He's looking to see whether or not Moses has a model that is going to be healthy going forward, because as he sees Moses sorting out the disputes between the people, he sees that he's doing it in a way that is not going to endure, but he's going to give him advice as to how he can hold up under the stress, beginning in verse 21, where it reads, moreover, look for able men from the people, men who fear God and who are trustworthy and hate a bribe, and place such men over the people as chiefs of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens. And so he is telling Moses, you need help, but you need help from trustworthy men. And we're not going to go through the criteria, but each of those criteria are really important. But the bottom line is Jethro is talking to Moses about appointing able men, but here's the irony. Jethro is proving that he is an able man, in that in his heart he can genuinely rejoice with Moses. He can rejoice with Moses for the right reasons, and he can give Moses wise counsel as to how to move forward successfully without taking too much stress on himself. And so understand, this goes back to what we saw in Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount, talking about the kind of success that endures, building on the rock as opposed to the sand. And he is literally going to talk about building on the rock, because not only does he talk about selecting able men, but he says his advice is nothing without God. Verse 19, now obey my voice and I will give you advice, and God be with you. I'm not sure how many, if any, problems we see with this informal judicial structure all the way through the end of Moses' ministry, basically through the end of the Pentateuch. Jethro here is understanding that you need principles that God is going to bless, because the advice alone can be suspect. God outsmarted Pharaoh. He demonstrated the ways in which trying to be clever falls short. Likewise with Israel, he demonstrated the ways in which nagging to manipulate to get your way falls short. Those are all clever inventions that have a short shelf life. And so Jethro is realizing that if this is going to last, it needs to be built on principles that God wants to bless. And one of those principles is integrity.